So I wanted to talk a little bit more about working with spirits when using flying ointments. Because I recently released and I'm working on some future blends for working with specific deities or demons or angels, spirits, whatever you want to call them. So I have a general one that's sort of a multi-purpose one for doing spirit communication, but I'm doing these ones are more specific towards because what I'm doing is working with not only the entheogenic herbs that I use in them, like henbane, belladonna, datura, mandrake root, and other things that aren't toxic, like that, like, wormwood, mugwort, blue lotus, and things of that nature. So, what I've been doing is combining that knowledge and also looking a little bit more at the correspondences to the particular spirit that I'm working with. So, the first two I did because this is sort of the path working that I've been doing, because I've been doing a lot of work with Lilith. So I just released one for Lilith, and I also released one for working with Lucifer as well. And I just started the one for Belial tonight. So that'll be ready in about a week. So what I've found in my recent workings in the astral realm, so I had to take a couple breaks at various times. Obviously, when there was like all the chaos happening in Philadelphia, some of which was very close by, a few blocks away. And I was really depressed for a couple weeks there. And either sleeping too much or not sleeping at all, or some combination of both. But, and sort of the process of testing out the flying ointments to see what was different with them and having worked with both Lilith and Lucifer prior, I was able to kind of compare and contrast how things have changed sort of for me in the astral realm, since that's primarily how I work that. I'm working on setting up my ritual space. It's just been taking me a hell of a lot longer than I thought it was going to, because it requires rearranging almost my entire first floor. So once I'll do that, I will get back to doing more like live action, ritual evocation and things of that nature. But for now, I'm just working in the astral realm. So looking at some of the notes I wrote down after various experiences recently, and it's really the thing I noticed immediately when I used the Lilith one. I just put some of that on earlier tonight, because after this I'm gonna kind of go play around in the astral realm like I do. But I noticed that immediately the working in the astral realm with Lilith the first time, that everything was much more intense, clear, and vivid, more well defined. Things that were revealed to me within the journeying with Lilith the first time, and some of it, I've been able to kind of look into a little further. So, as I'm going through these different path workings and journeying, so again, I also worked with the Lucifer flying ointment, and the thing I noticed for the first time in this realm is I felt my wings for the first time. They didn't take full form. They were just more shadowy and wispy and soft. I don't know that they were necessarily feathery, but they were still taking form, I guess. I'll get to that part later. So I was drawn to, I did a guided meditation. It's on Satan and Sons YouTube channel. So I was drawn to Lucifer's Dark Tower, and it was interesting because I felt him like pulling me upwards, like my body was kind of prone and, my arms and legs kind of dangling, as I was being kind of like drawn up in that sort of thrall kind of way. And I flew during parts of the travel as well. And the thing that came up, and it was a really interesting concept, and I've been thinking about this for a while now, afterwards, because I hadn't thought about it previously, is that we talked about souls. And he said to me, the enlightened have two souls, a dark soul and one of light. Mammon is his dark soul, Lucifer is his light soul. I couldn't get a real good fix on what he looked like because unfortunately, like, there's so many pop culture, TV and film references to Lucifer that it's sort of like, it's hard to not project that on, even in the astral realm. I'm like, which Lucifer from TV does he look like? And this is how he sort of referred to. He says some people are half-lights, NPCs, which stands for, if you're a gamer, non-player character. So it's just sort of like the random patrol kind of strolling through the woods. It's not someone actually playing it. It's just sort of like a computer-generated line of code that does its thing. Not soulless per se, but unenlightened, and not working towards ascension. And Lucifer apparently has a thing for roses, so, like, anytime I ask him, like, well, how can I repay your gnosis or whatever, or, I'm a give and take kind of gal. Always has to do with roses, so I have to procure some black roses soon. But, I've done some various other meditations, and in one of my workings with Lucifer, I guess to sort of explain the sort of difference, and I'm still trying to understand it myself. A lot of people, like, Lucifer and Satan are different. Like, I see Lucifer as sort of the fallen rebel angel, whereas Satan is the adversary. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because I've been thinking more about the role of an adversary. Like, an adversary questions things. They don't go along with the status quo. They don't follow lockstep, the rules. They rebel. And are they evil? Maybe sometimes. Depends on the situation. But it's like about having free will and asking questions. It's not about, like, I don't look at sort of Satan, the adversary, as like the most evil, like, convention that, how I learned of Satan through the Catholic Church and stuff like that. But so in this meditation with Lucifer, I asked him to sort of, because in other ones I've met the other demonic gatekeepers, but Satan wasn't present. So I asked him to take me to that realm. And just as a side note, there were these absolutely adorable baby hellhound fruit bat hybrids, and I totally want one. They're the cutest things ever! I wish I could just, like, make my brain make things, like, be like, that thing that I drew that was up there, I want one. They were cute. They were so cute. They had little lips and they had little wings and they were little baby hellhounds. Anyways, sorry, now that I'm done being squeaky. So, as I was in Satan's crypt, he crawled forth as a human baby infant, which, unexpected. And as he got kind of closer to me, and started to sort of, it was sort of this like whirlwind, like tornadic kind of vortex, and he was starting to grow, like from baby to toddler to child and stuff like that. So that was my first experience there. And Belial showed up again at some point in this journey. Belial always has the most interesting, like, tasks for me. He must understand my, like, deeply rebellious, like, fight the system kind of thing, because he had me pledged to stand and fight against tyranny and fascism, which seems oddly apropos right now. So in the more recent workings I've done, it's a little, yeah, I've gone back and forth with working with Lucifer and Lilith mostly. Belial just kind of comes and goes as he pleases, apparently. Occasionally asks me to punch a Nazi. There's a specific person I have to find by name and call them a pusillanimous twit. So it's an interesting one. Demons, eh? So I've started shapeshifting within the astral realm, which is a really interesting experience because in this one, I think I was working with both Lucifer and Lilith, and I think I was asking them to be taken back to Satan's crypt. I was in a long robe, and as we were journeying there physically, my entire physical characteristics shapeshifted. Like I got these like spirally kind of horns, not too tall, they were black, sort of ridged, a little bit of a sheen to them, a little leathery looking. My wings this time were sort of a leathery, like a tattered leather, brownish color with like little black kind of points so it's sort of like, I don't know, kind of like bat wings in that sense. So I had the little black tips on the ends, and then my face started to like take on the form of a skull. But it was but I can't really place what type of animal skull it was. If at best I could say it was something that was a cross between a goat and a raven skull. And at times I was playing around with flying, and then realized once I was back on the ground that I could transform the lower half of my body into a serpent and sort of slither along to get to where we were going faster. I don't remember what happened after that, but so you can see now, like, as I've been working with different spirits and flying ointments, that the experiences I'm having are becoming much more specific. A lot more is being revealed, and I'm going to do some separate breakout videos over time on such things. I've been enjoying them a lot. I think it's expanding the consciousness is something that I've always been interested in. And I find that, using the flying ointments is a good way to do that. With not as much risk as, or, the intensity of, say, doing like ayahuasca or something like that. So, or doing like LSD or ecstasy or mushrooms or things like that, which have legal issues around them. So in last night's journey, I traveled to Lilith's realm, and this time when I got to where I normally meet her, which is sort of it's in her temple, but she's usually on this sort of like platform when there's a spire and stuff. But this time as I got there, instead of walking, I transformed into a white dove and flew up to her spire. I noticed she seemed really upset about something, and it was the first time that she seemed vulnerable, and she was hurt by or upset about something. And I'm not entirely sure what. And I remember trying to kind of figure that out or be like, what can I do? Because I'm a helper person. I'm the first person that's like, oh my God, what's wrong? Let me fix it. Here, let me get you a cup of tea, a bottle of scotch, chocolate, steak. Let me fix it. That's just kind of how I roll as a human. So it's interesting working along the left-hand path, which again, for me, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about things, because I see this, coming from various people. It's like, no, it's not all evil and mean and nasty, cursing, hateful people. I'm like, everyone I've met has been really nice and helpful and all around amazing. Like anything, it's about balance. It's looking at, if you want to call it a demon, they're not here, they're not corrupting me and turning me into a bad, evil, malevolent person. I feel like they're here to enlighten and engage and help you see your own true potential, not just as like a magician or witch or whatever, like your human potential and your own sort of godlike potential. So I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing, because I mean, really, all that like most demons are ancient gods and goddesses from old religions that literally got demonized by new religions like Christianity when that was a new thing. So for me, it's about balance, and it's not about good versus evil, this, that. It's balance. There's gray area. Some things are crystal clear, bright as day. Other things as dark as night. There's beauty in it all. You just have to find the beauty within the world we live in, within ourselves, within the spirits we work with. So like Lucifer had said to me, those that aren't seeking enlightenment, aren't ascension, are sort of half-lights, just kind of non-player characters trudging through the forest. They don't know. They don't see. They're not seeking enlightenment or ascension. They don't understand that you can't have dark without light, and that you can't have light without dark, and that there's infinite shades of gray and infinite spectrums of colors in between. And that said, good night, my loves. Don't forget to click like and subscribe.